touches in the second half after having 22 at half time.
Did he play on the weekend?
Yeah, Toronto had 22 touches
Obviously,
in the first half.
Rested for the whatever.
No.
What?
What do you mean?
Played VFL.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he would have just been played at half rat power, wouldn't he? Well, that's not an issue. Wait, what did you say? What did he score?
No, I'm saying he had 22 touches to half time.
Yeah.
And then he only finished on 29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably just took it easy in the second half.
No.
He's done.
Fair, and he tagged him
Is that what happened?
to 7 touches.
Okay.
That
Cool.
old chestnut.
Yeah, for sure.
Holland's not doing enough to get in, probably.
No.
He was named in on the AFL app.
Yeah.
Yeah, they keep doing that shit. Oh, he had 8 marks, though. 18 disposals, 8 marks and a goal.
All right. Got a few people here.
That Will Power fucking thing. Ugh.
Yeah, that was disgusting. Poor guy. That's going to be a long time out, isn't it?
Oh, fucking oath.
Poor guy. All right.
What was it, though? An ankle or a knee? They kept saying knee. It's like he's...
I don't know. I thought his knee
ankle
dislocated
was
so
fucking-
far that it I don't know.
I thought his ankle was just fucking completely fucked.
Yeah. Wasn't good. Case, can you just say g'day into your mic just to make sure?
G'day into your mic, just to be sure.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. All right, I'm ready to go. You guys ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the lesser knowns and the players that are going to bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Hef and I'm joined by my co-host Kays. How you going?
Good, Heffy.
Yeah, and Dossie, how you going, mate?
Good, mate.
You happy the buy rounds are over, boys? Or
I think we talked on the waiver wire pod. I'm happy from
50-50.
Happy from my from the fantasy team's perspective, but yeah, from we were saying from
from the podcasting perspective.
podcasting perspective, it was nice and relaxing for a few weeks just to watch a couple of games.
You know how they say they should relocate, or one person in particular says they should relocate North Melbourne to Tasmania. Just get rid of team. I reckon they should get rid of 6 teams so we just have this many games per round, and then we can just watch 2 games each week, be super cruisy, only have to give up 12 hours a week.
WS, North, Saints.
Having the one game on a
Melbourne
Sunday though
West
does
Coast
suck
at the moment.
because I don't know, seedy Sunday or just chilling at home Sunday, having that one game, it's just not enough.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
not
good
enough.
It's good for me with a little kid I have to chase around all day. I have to watch
No,
one.
mate, it's not enough for
for party animal Dossie these days.
This weekend, I would have thought it made more sense to have 2 on a Saturday and 2 on a Sunday instead of 3 and 1.
Are Thursday night games around for a while now as well?
I think so.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know how. Yeah, I can't decide if I like them or not. They usually trick me into thinking Thursday's Friday, which sucks.
Yeah, that's bad.
Thursdays
there
is
you go.
purely for TV.
Yeah,
like no one
definitely.
goes to football on Thursday anymore, it seems.
No.
I do, but I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you are.
No, Thursdays are all right for the podcasting perspective. It's like you get one out earlier. Night game's always better because your kid's asleep, so it's easier. But yeah, Mondays are the hard one. They're the worst one. So
The one thing I'm keen is my home league doesn't play the buys, so I am keen from that perspective to
same.
get back into, especially the draft. Like you've got pretty much, like we were saying, last week, I think you've got Classic to kind of get you through these last couple of weeks, but a lot of draft leagues don't play. So
and I've got a league that
keen
does
to get
play
back
through the
into it.
buys, but it's like you don't always have your best players in the park, and it can be super frustrating because like you're getting done when you probably should be winning if you had all your players playing and stuff like that. But then you have other games like where you should probably lose and you beat other people as well. So
When are you guys trade deadlines? Have they
pretty
been?
soon.
Coming up?
This we have 6 weeks before the end of the season, I
I think
reckon.
there's still 9 games left. Or
Yeah, so probably another 3 weeks or so. It's usually
I'll have to
around
check
the
my
start of
league.
July.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, we do as far
Get
as
some
we can.
trades out there.
Yeah, it's the time to do
Trade
it.
season.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's good that the buy rounds are over. I was on the Craft Doctors episode last week. You guys have a listen to that one?
Yeah, I've already listened, mate. Good app.
Yeah, you liked
Very
it?
nice.
That was
Yeah.
good. Yeah, if you haven't had a listen to it, go have a listen to that one. Get around that podcast. It's really good fun.
It's just
to
on
do.
the Draft Doctors feed now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like a bonus one or anything. Yeah, it's just on
Yeah,
the main
it's
feed. It
just
comes
on
out
the-
on a
yeah.
Friday. I think the actual one about football comes out on the one about fantasy comes out on the Monday, and then the one about the Craft Doctors where they generally have a guest on comes out Friday. It's just a bit different. So it's a bit of a you drink a beer and you talk about
It's
your
nice.
home
It's
league.
different.
and-
It's unusual.
Yes, that's right. And then you just talk about something else random at the end. It was good fun. I want to see you guys on it at some stage. I want to see the Dossie versus Steve Fizz kind of showdown. Now, a few rumours about your
Bad blood.
Yeah, end to
Bullshit.
the draft doctors. So I've had a few go around. I think Steve said on there you got sacked a few years ago, and I actually had people message like, "Did Doss get sacked from the draft doctors?" And I was like, yeah, absolutely. That's 100% what happened.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened.
I want the tell-all on the craft doctors.
The bad blood rumours are all from Dossie too.
Yeah. It's actually all off air that he just talks shit about Steve Fizz behind his back to us. And doesn't, and we just kind of spread those rumours. We just actually just tell truth.
Steve's my boy. Let's not start this.
Yeah, anyways, it does say you message him like when you're wasted like every week. So
it's like a bad drunk ex, you know, like.
Yeah, and I've started just doing like song lyrics and stuff.
just really
just like real weird shit.
Does he actually respond to you?
He loves it. No, I kind of stopped doing it because he did. I think he did respond, and then he did that thing on his podcast where he paid me out about it, and I was like, yeah, I better stop this.
Yeah, okay. You realised you were getting annoying.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, we'll move on to the round rewind in a second, but we'll just thank our sponsors, Manscaped. I'm wearing the T-shirt tonight.
You've got the jocks on.
Oh, you got the jocks on. Do you want to show them to the camera?
No.
What did you get a different design to me? What did you get? Oh, you got the grey ones. Oh, I got the Kay's just showing me his jocks on the podcast. I got the ones that are the love hearts, but they actually look like, because they're upside down, they look like ball sacks. And they got sunglasses on there. I like them ones.
I would recommend going a size up. I've got a medium and a large, and the large are a lot more comfortable.
Thick trunks there, Kay's.
Do you think my order could still be at the post office?
Oh, you got to chase this up, man. We can't fix this for you.
I haven't got an email saying it's been like returned, so do you reckon they might just still have it?
They might. Well, I don't know why you haven't gone and checked already.
I'll check tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll let you know how I go.
All right, we might have got different ones each. That'd be.
I'll report back next week.
But anyway, they've got the what are they called? The Boxer Briefs 2.0. That's the ones we're wearing at the moment. They got the micro modal fabric. It's buttery soft and breathable. It keeps your cucumber cool. You can walk, run, and strut around in them. Moisture wicking.
Are these
mainly
written?
they're quite
written?
comfy.
Did you write these, or are these like pre-written?
So I get sent like a list of like dot points and like ways.
We all know Hef writes his own jokes. So.
I do write my jokes for the podcast. No, we do. Because that's why they're so good. But yeah, no, I do actually get sent like a list of doc points and talking points and things like that. The actual last week's one about the putting your hands up, that was actually just one of the actual things they sent, but like I adapted it to be like you going out clubbing because that's what you do all the time now. Did you go out on Saturday night, Dossie?
Yeah.
I thought so. You said you're going to have a quiet one.
Yeah. Went to the highway actually, which is where the traders
just checking out the
been there
venue.
the last couple of weeks actually.
Yeah. No, nice. Cool. Anyway, thank you to Manscaped. Make sure you head to manscaped.com. Use the code KEEPIT20 to get 20% off and free shipping. And yeah, you can get yourself a pair of Boxer Briefs 2.0. All right, let's get on to the round rewind. What's that noise? The Aussie zipper. Your thing against your foot. No, it's nothing major. It just sounded like water was like spilling or something. All right. Cool. Let's get the round rewind music in. Check the stream. That intro was a bit loose. Cool. I might just adjust Kay's cam because your head's getting cut off a bit. That's all. Too tall, Kays. Man Mountain.
Manscaped Mountain.
Let's get into it. Wake up, Dos. You do look very sleepy, actually.
Yeah, like stayed out late and then got up early for a wade this morning.
For a wade in the water.
Yeah, doing the right thing, mate.
Jeez.
The bod needs it.
Yeah, you guys definitely need it after yesterday's result.
Shut up.
Was it actually a wade or was it one of those kind of...
Nah, I do.
When you lose, you got to jump off the jetty at 5 a.m.
When I wade, I wade.
All right. Cool, let's get into it.
The shortcuts.
The round rewind. All right, into the round rewind. Our first game of the week I had a look at, that was Richmond versus Carlton. These are the players that I thought are worth talking about. Liam Baker is really pushing 2G, 4P territory. So I watched him a bit the last few weeks. Good to see him back on that halfback flank. He has been forward a bit in his career, but he scored 103 points off that halfback flank. Used off the switch, reads the kick coming in pretty well, and gets to good positions to get the footy. So yeah, he's had a few good weeks. I think he's been a little bit up and down, but he's getting a few 80 pluses in there, 103 on the weekend. So he's getting close to that 2G, 4P territory, but not quite there. I know you boys love Liam Baker.
Yeah,
we talk about him every second week.
It's because the big shift for him is like Short going in the midfield has just made him that distributor off the back line.
But I thought, like when Flostone would come back, it would be reset things. But
yeah, it's just different. He's that different role. He's like shorter player, just can run around, make use of his speed, and gets free and gets those kicks. Like, yeah, he's great, and I think he is 2G, to be honest. 88, 111, 71, 78, 103.
His ownership would be up there.
Isn't he? Is he a forward in fantasy, like in the fantasy format?
I don't know. I think he is in Ultimate Footy. I haven't. He's
not
really a
centre in Ultimate Footy, and he's a defender forward.
Centre.
Yeah.
Really?
Am I looking? Yeah, back centre in Ultimate and a forward defender in fantasy.
That's weird. Oh, I guess he would have had.
That's a weird one though. Because
the first 6 weeks they would have got forward. Maybe is that what happened?
Well, he played forward at the end last year, which is why he got forward status. He started as a forward. Yeah, okay. And then he's gained defender status in fantasy, but in Ultimate, he's just a back centre like the whole year, by the looks.
Whatever he starts in as fantasy, he starts in Ultimate. Like they're exactly the same. It's what gets added later in the season. So yeah, that's weird. Oh. So he would have started as back. They start as the exact same positions.
Sorry, maybe I mixed
up. Except for 5 different ones, but I don't think he was one of them. Was he? I don't think he was.
Don't know.
Yeah. But
so he started forward this year. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he did. And then he got forward status. Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. Anyway,
good chat.
I don't think that's right. But anyway, because he'd have to be in both. Anyway, Jack Graham's another one. So he's been moving back into the midfield a little bit more after coming out. He had some lean weeks before, and it kind of seemed like there's a little bit of coincidence with Dusty Martin coming back in the side and getting a few more CBAs that he kind of squeezed out, even though he wasn't high on them in the first place. But he was down to like really low, where he's barely, only getting 1 or 2 a game type thing. But he had 90 points on the weekend, and apart from. So, 9 CBAs. Apart from round 1 where he was underdone, he scored better when getting about 35 to 40% of the CBAs. They've been his biggest game. So, he got that again on the weekend. He's had that the last 2 weeks and, scored 98 points again. So, I think being injured during the preseason just now, and getting that midfield role, he's starting to kind of score a little bit better. And that forward status is the interesting one because he keeps when you think he's about to lose it, he'll spend some more time up forward, and then when you think he's gonna definitely he'll go back into the midfield and stuff like that. So it's an interesting one, but he's definitely playing a lot better in the last few weeks, and it's the moving back and just getting a more even spattering of the CBAs as the catalyst there. So keep an eye on that one, but he's going to be pretty handy, I think, if you own him going into the back end of the season. Nick Flostone, he should be 2G4P. He had 5 points.
How's he not?
Yeah, because he keeps going up and down. He kind of doesn't get the 4 in a row. Okay. 5 kickouts for Richmond, which is the most. Used the ball well. They want it in his hands. He's definitely one to own if he's there, but just
he's averaging 93.
Well, then he should be 2G4P. I think it's because he...
Getting him off, mate. Come on.
Let's get rid of him. See you later. See you later. He should... I was going to say, he hasn't had the 4 in a row, that's all.
He's got bye-week brain.
Yep.
He hasn't had 4 in a row, has he?
He started the year 91, 131, 102, missed a week, 86.
Oh, okay, that counts. Maybe the missed a week is what threw me off. Anyway.
Come on, Ev.
Don't we have a doc that has them all in there, guys? Or where did that go? Anyway.
It's there. You just have a look.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to find it if he's there.
Marlon Pickett is the next one. So 86 points. Outside player who'll pop in with a score like this every now and then. Loophole type for me. Nothing else. Daniel Rioli has an 80 points, so he's been a handy enough scorer this year, consistently around that kind of 70 to 80 mark. Since Vlostone's come back into the side, though, he hasn't been putting up the hundreds like he was earlier in the year. So, I don't know, is there a few too many in defence for Richmond for him to score too well? So, for example, you've got Vlostone, you've got Baker, which we talked about, you've got Broad, he goes okay, you had Short in there earlier in the season. Is there too many mouths for him to be a big scorer? Or do you think this is just what we expect? Or do you reckon he can go one bigger? What's the go with Daniel Rioli case?
I reckon he's around that 80-point average.
Is he a keeper for you on your side?
Borderline, depending on how my backs stack up next year. Maybe not.
Yeah.
He's come in and does his service. Was I expecting maybe a bit more? Sure, but am I upset with drafting him? No.
It's weird. I think he'd actually be seriously fantasy relevant in a different system, I think, because he's
everyone's fantasy relevant.
He's just Richmond. A thirsty customer though. He screams for the ball every time he doesn't have it. So I feel like he doesn't get used a lot for those short kicks because they have these penetrating kicks like a Jaden Short up on the wing. If it gets to him, it's going inside 50 just about. So I don't know. It kind of depends. I think I could see him going further because it's only his second year playing in this role, in first full season playing in defence. So,
yeah, I don't know. I think there is probably a case in that there's a lot of players.
The system's just tough to score in unless your name's James Short.
as well. Yeah. Even he struggles in the midfield, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, Yeah. What else? Nathan Broad, someone we mentioned. Yeah, another one that just plays defence. He had 85. Used the switch a bit, and he got a lot of those kind of short kicks from the kick-ins as well, so he get a few +6s in those pockets as well. Averaging 75 this season, which is handy, but he's pretty up and down. But you'll take the 75 as like a D4, D5. That's for sure. Now, let's move on to some Carlton players. So Adam Sard, Dossie, he had 91 points, and we probably should give you a bit of credit because it does feel like he's gone to a 90 type average when he was an 80 last year.
Well, thanks, mate. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
Not a huge bump, but a bump nonetheless. You know what I mean?
Well,
since Williams has gone down.
And it was since Williams gone down. And Buzz Dossier once again.
Well, our call is it's not going to be massive because he doesn't have a high
ahead.
Ceiling, which is kind of true. It's not a high ceiling. He hasn't gone 100+ since those times.
He's light years ahead, Case.
But yeah.
Oh, man.
Why is your classic rank going backwards? I don't get it. But anyway. Lockie O'Brien, 82 points. He's one of our favourites on the podcast, I think. We all have a little bit of a soft spot. We talked about it a few weeks ago.
No spot for
Oh,
him.
don't you? Oh, that was Dossie.
I do, yeah.
I think he's been
dropped.
dropped immediately.
Yeah. Anyway.
What?
He's just dime a dozen. Like,
Oh, he definitely is, but like so are they. There's so many like wingers in there. But out of those wingers,
anyone could play Lockie O'Brien's
His work
role.
rate. I just love his work rate.
yeah, like he was really hard, like
Work
going
rate's
hard
good.
at it on the
Even
weekend.
3-touch Dossie on the weekend could probably play Lockie O'Brien's role.
Shows a little bit of thirst, the old O'Brien as well. Really hungry for the footy. So, yeah, outside player though doesn't go huge, but I don't know, could be worth having on as a streamer or a bench option.
Nah.
Loophole option. Matthew Cottrell is another one of these outside types. And actually, a lot of these outside types went okay in this game. But he's just one that I think is just looking more comfortable at the level. And he was a defender as a junior. I know he's listed as a midfielder only this year, but he was a defender when he came into the system. I think he played a bit of defence in the VFL last year as well. So he'd be handy if he went back to that role. Not as useful for our keep league teams as a midfielder, but just keep an eye because he's just starting to look a little bit better. Just looks a little bit more comfortable at the level. But yeah, not expecting big things unless he does become a defender again. Then I'll probably start looking at him more closely.
Do you still think the Blues can contend this year after this game? Going down,
I think so.
Tigs and other Tigs. That will do this year?
Tigers are a good. Tigers make the
they're a
finals.
good outfit.
Yeah,
aren't
they're
they?
a good outfit. So they're a pretty hard team to beat. So I think they're okay. It's just I think the experience won out on the night and Tigers pressure, and I think. Carlton probably thought it was going to happen a little bit easier than it actually did, I reckon, as well. So, no, I'm not worried. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about real football. I don't care enough. I just want the fantasy.
All right, mate.
Let's do it.
All right, getting on to the next game. And I will talk a little bit about real footy here because it was an interesting result. K's, St Kilda versus Essendon.
Put a smile on my dial on Friday night.
Kays would have been having a good night. Have you put us any money on the flag yet? Even though it's mathematically impossible.
I'm not silly.
So yeah, much better display from your boys though. Did you get to see this?
Bits and pieces, yeah.
Bits and pieces, yeah. So I thought you would have been a very proud Dons supporter because where's this been though? Like that's what I want to know because this is kind of the Dons that we saw. I feel this is the Dons that we saw like a lot last year at times with that bit of like high pressure system and
Took
just
a chance.
Yep, just taking the game on. But the pressure was huge. Like they were always on St Kilda. It wasn't the prettiest of games to watch, that's for sure. But just that pressure was the notable thing that I saw. I was just gonna say that it was such a topsy-turvy game. It was basically 5 goals for one team, then 5 goals for the other team. It was like a game of runs. So I was pretty much, my notes were going like, oh, what a bounce back from the Dons. And then I was like, then they sucked after a half-time, conceding 5 in a row. Wait, then they dominated and piled on like 6 in a row. And then it was just a game runs. But let's talk about some of the players. Massimo D'Ambrosio.
Sign him up.
44 points. Not that big of a point score,
yes.
But we were saying, we've mentioned him. He is a great waiver wire pickup this week. 19 years old, was very poised. Look, he started the game as Massimo D'Ambrosio at quarter time.
Terrible.
That's even terrible for you.
0 points at quarter time. But look, he had 15 disposals. Kays, you mentioned pre-show, his disposals were special, you could say. He just...
Nice touch.
Yeah, just great poise, laced out his targets, and you can just see that he's got that, just that football IQ on his shoulders. So looking like a really nice ad, I think, first game to come out and do that in a win, mind you, which is rare to come. And then after the game in the change rooms, they were all chanting Massimo on the way into the change room. So
that.
you can see he's already a beloved figure at the club and he's only been there a couple of weeks. So get around him. I think he could be a really, really nice add for you. All right. Notable was the midfield rotations in this game as well. Obviously, the huge out of Parrish, who's been eating up a lot of those, but interesting to see how they shifted and how the CBAs looked, and obviously they performed with this rotation. So obviously Parrish is going to go back in there, but who fills that void? And there's a lot of players here that are relevant for our Keeper League sides that we've been hoping would perform. So just a note on Shield, he would have been a great buy low a couple of weeks ago. I think we actually mentioned maybe a month or 6 weeks ago, we were like, where does Shield go? Do you guys think he's a buy low? And I think we were almost 50, I think 2 versus 1, whatever way it was, I can't remember. I think we were, you could have been either way as a keeper coach. He's bounced back. He's 2G, I think, for now.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. He wasn't a player that was ever going to leave the side though. It was just more about getting.
Yeah, it was just if you're an owner, like, are you going to get anything? And he was going back on the wire for some teams because of how poor he was.
Yeah.
So good to see him bounce back. But let's look at the CBAs without Parrish. Merritt, obviously 25.
What did he score? It was poor, wasn't it?
No, 95 or
90,
something.
was it?
Yeah. Shield, 21. He also scored in the 90s. Caldwell, 17. Who would have thought Caldwell plays well as a midfielder, guys? He had 23 touches, 5 marks, 7 tackles. One of those big players that was awesome for the pressure.
Shouldn't matter, Dossie, because CBAs are a myth. Right?
Oh, that's right, Kays. Yeah, doesn't matter.
He was just hungry. It was the pressure.
Yeah, must have been it.
Well, 98 points for the lad, and good signs for Caldwell owners who would be panicking.
Another player that scored some pretty reasonable scores in the last few weeks in a row that's had a CBA bump is Archie Perkins.
He has. So he was the leading CBAs the last couple of weeks, not this week. He was about 4th string here. So
do you have another 80? Was that it?
Yeah, in the 80s again. But he's obviously now he's a good own, so he'd be owned by a lot of keeper coaches, I think.
Hell
if not, still pick him up. And the other one who would be owned by a fair few players still, I think, but if not, snap him up immediately. Had a stinker last week, bounced back huge this week. Jake Stringer, 11 CBAs, but he went on a run last year, and I could see if the Dons have sort of changed and are now into that pressure fold, he's the perfect guy for gets the CBAs, runs forward, kicks
he's a bit
snags.
of a barometer. Like if they're up and about, he's up and about. So
anyway, just a few names there on that side. The interesting thing for me though as well, which is obviously he's owned and 2G in essence, but good signs for McGrath owners, I'd say. He had 0 CBAs, which for a change is a positive in my opinion. He was playing in defence, so hopeful signs that maybe he can get some defender status, which would, I think, help owners massively.
He's out this week, though. He's
out this week, injured. Good signs, though.
And there's
good signs.
Then there's not very long to get defender status left.
Well, even going into next year and stuff,
sorry.
and for that reason, trade deadline's coming up soon. If you can stash away a guy, I think he'll get defender status in the future.
Yep.
Billings was back, 91 points. He's been stashed away in the VFL for a couple of weeks. Started on a wing. I reckon he's back. He looked awesome. 2 goals, 18 disposals, 5 marks in a loss. I just think it's a bit weird how he's been playing VFL. I think you can have some confidence that he'll bounce back.
Probably just need a bit of touch.
It's a bit of a weird one for me, but we'll see how he goes. Hunter Clark, I still think it's a great buy low opportunity. If owners have been waiting for a long time for him to come back, and if they've held strong, he only scored 42 points. He might even be ditched down to your waivers this week.
It's like you read my article this week, Dossie.
Is that right?
Exactly the words out of my mouth. You've meatloafed me.
And he had 13 disposals, 1 mark, 2 tackles, but really low time on ground. And it was good to see him get a few CBAs on his return. Just wet that beak a bit for those CBAs, 5 of them. He started the second quarter on the ball, but yeah, I just think he's a classy unit. Hopefully build some form into that. And then other than that, a few other players just want to, I still have faith in Rhino Burns. I just wanted to, give my boy some love. 64 points. I've still got some stonks in him long term.
Started all right, and then just kind of dropped off a bit late.
I just like the way he plays, and I've still got stocks in him. It's just taken a little bit longer. Hopefully this is the dip, and we see him kind of rise back up in the future. I still think, his talent will rise. And another shout out to Sammy Durham on the Essendon side. Look, I don't know how fieldable he is at the moment or where he's going to be fantasy-wise, but fuck, I love watching him play.
Looks like he's got something, doesn't he?
Love watching him play. Just the way he goes about it. If you're an Essendon fan, you are, Kays, you got to love this guy. So just wanted to give him some love.
Just be interesting if he put on a bit of size, whether he'd be midfieldable.
He looks like he's got a few moves, doesn't he? Yeah.
And just if he can just, it just looks like he's still a bit, not fully
developed.
Developed is a great
Yeah,
word.
it's a weird one. He's got a weird posture, kind of those big shoulders like hunching over and stuff.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's only 20.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He
so
plays like
actually put on a few
a savvy veteran already.
Yeah.
One question I wanted to pose for you guys, so that was kind of the game wrap, but I'm just thinking future-wise for the Bombers and looking at some maybe of those trade targets we're talking about or stashes and stuff like that. The Draper-Phillips combo for me is just super baffling. What do you reckon long-term? That they've got to go out and get themselves a forward ruck like a Bryn Teakle, even though he's out. But he doesn't. He's not a ruck. Like they don't want to play him there. They want to use him key forward. I'm just looking at who they've got missing in their injury list, and I'm like, I reckon maybe it's Cox in the future. I think he's
slight.
Yeah, but he's going to grow. I just feel like he's the guy in the future that they're going to have Draper and him, because Draper and Phillips long term is not the answer, obviously.
Absolutely not. But yeah, I don't know whether Cox is the man to play as the backup ruck.
Did you see him like last year when he was playing backup ruck?
They put him in there and he looked like he was going to snap.
Yeah, but he's the extra midfielder, and he's going to have 2 years. He's fully in the weight room this year, right? Because he's not going to be playing.
Yeah, hope so. Like he
just. Sherlock Dossie's on the case.
You're talking kind of like a Westhoff, mold, where he's a good runner, good athlete, can
play multiple positions,
can
play multiple positions, and then when Draper needs a cut out, I just think, look, don't forget this guy in your keeper leagues. He's obviously had a write-off year. Look, Sherlock Dossie's on the case for Nick Cox.
He's dropped the Buzz Dossier and he's gone with Sherlock Dossie.
Got a few nicknames.
Okay,
all self-given, which is strange.
Yeah. Anyway.
Whatever keeps him.
That was pretty much it.
Cool.
Okay,
my other nickname. I'll come with you.
That's right.
Got another one.
We're good, man. We're good. Let's move on.
Port versus Sydney. I had the pleasure of watching this game. Well, kind of pleasure. The first half was a bit scrappy, especially the first 10 minutes. Crazy game, really. Sydney kicked away early, and I thought game over. The class has come to Adelaide Oval and rising.
I was at the game and I said that. I was like, this is not going to go away today.
It looked like it was just going to be a big blowout to Sydney's way. Port hit back, but kind of limped into half time. 2 injured players. And then, honestly, if I had a lot of money and I was a big punter, I would have unloaded my bank account on Sydney at half time. Port had one less person on the bench. Butters is a great player. You have to ruck Jeremy Finlayson against Pete Laddams. And then, bang, Sydney imploded. Basically, thanks to Pistol Pete Laddams, who just lost the plot, really, and gave away 2 goals, and that was about it.
Can I say that I actually left this game at half time, Case?
Did you?
Not because we were losing, because I brought my 3-year-old son who was not having a good time. And he was just the whole second quarter. He loves trains. And so the second half, the whole second quarter, he's like, Dad, can we go on a train now? Dad, can we go on a train now? And he was just like flipping the seats up, like annoying everyone around us. And I was like, this is not working. So I was like, yeah, no worries. I watched on my phone, but by the time I got to the train station, the train Port were up by like 4 goals. And I was like, what the hell just happened? That time that I left.
It was actually amazing.
Yeah.
But
That's so good that you only got through half.
I tried to bring, for those listening, I've been talking about this often on the Way Wide podcast, tried to bring my son who's 3, not super into footy, but I just wanted to see how he went because it was the only day game of the year. But yeah, it was a failed experiment.
And you've held his seats for how long already?
Oh, like 2 years.
Couple of years.
Yeah, I've been paying for him. He'll get there. Like, he's just still a bit too young. A bit too little. That's all.
Yeah,
give it
time.
time.
It takes time.
But yeah, just for the record, I didn't leave at half time because I thought we'll lose.
Last year when you were doing that.
In the prelim when we were down by 10 goals, yes. Yeah, that's for sure.
Is that old enough to have a favourite player yet, or is just kind of...
One of his first things he could actually say was Power Pepper.
Okay.
He just called me, so I'm just running with that's his favourite player, but he's got no idea. No.
Yeah.
It's a good name. It's because it's like Peppa Pig.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We'll start off. Bryn Teakle was obviously the big talking point of the week, getting his debut. Had 27 points, and he actually really looked great until he got injured. 5 touches, 2 tackles, 9 hitouts. Kind of getting a bit of like Luke Jackson kind of vibes in terms of his athleticism and his spring, all that kind of thing.
That's a big
But if you're going to compare a ruckman or that kind of person to, I think that's an okay,
That's a huge
It's not like
comparison.
Luke Jackson has really set the world on fire, if I'm honest, in 3 years. But, showing
like
promising
20.
signs. But look, unless they pull the trigger on Sam Hayes coming back, it could be Jeremy Finlayson's season, for at least for the next few weeks. Lysa apparently out for another month. So
he said within a month.
Okay, within a month.
Yeah.
So
it could be
interesting if they run him through
could
the
be
SANFL
2, could be
or not.
3. I reckon they will. But I reckon he might be 2 or 3 off in the sidelines and then SANFL game them back in.
So I think Sam Hayes had 37 hitouts in the SANFL on the weekend and was, did what he does in the SANFL. But Jeremy Finlayson was obviously very serviceable, 79 points and rucked for most of the arvo when Teakle went off. He had 14 14 hit-outs in total up against Pete Laddam's 23. So I think it's really easy to see why Ken signed him up for 10 more years. Hinkley loves having Jeremy Finlayson. I love that Ken's turned this side around. Their backs to the wall and they're just pushing forward to another flag in the next 3.
Do you know that Ken became the most capped coach to not make a grand final a few weeks ago? He holds the record.
When you know something's really close.
Yeah.
It's almost there. I think that's what it is. But
absolutely. Can I just touch on the Finlayson thing? I think for fantasy-wise, it would be very good if Finlayson does stay as the number 1 ruck. It's just going on last week how basically in the press conference they said Finlayson gave them the best thing in the ruck that they've had in weeks and we're going to roll with this option, whatever. And then they bring in an actual ruck, like probably an underdone ruck, if anything, the next week. So like how much do we trust in the press conferences and things like that actually happens and they just don't bring Hayes back in next week because they want an actual ruck in there to get first hands to the footy.
But it's funny because then like literally the weekend before they were like, no, Hayes is no good. We don't.
Well, they were saying he was sick but then they said he was no good and then, so I don't know. Like
usually Port are pretty like straightforward with their,
they are one of the things that's actually to our detriment because they will give the opposition 4 or 5 days head start to prepare for us by letting them know our team early in the week and it pisses us supporters off big time. But good for fantasy coaches.
Great for fantasy coaches, which I love Ken. Sign him up. But look, Finlayson was great. 16 touches, 4 tackles, plays as that kind of fourth mid, which we've spoken about. And I think if you can get him off the waiver wire, it's just worth a look, especially for the next few weeks because he'll probably give you a 70 most weeks in that kind of role. Zach Butters had 44 points and was playing really well until injury. Only 25% TOG. Apparently a PCL, but I haven't heard anything today if that's changed. I haven't heard anything, yeah. Look, it probably realistically opens the door for Boak to kind of come back in. He had the week off with COVID, but could be some slight bumps for the following couple of players. Like Xavier Dersmar came on. He had 72 points and was activated as the sub in that second quarter. Ended the day with 16 touches and 3 tackles. Look, his disposal was a little questionable at times, but yesterday he really could not fold his effort. He actually looked hungry and laid a few tackles and did some really good pressure things. So maybe a few weeks in the Sandfuls just kind of, shook him up and maybe this is the opportunity he needed. He's only 40% owned too. And I know, mid only is a tough, but look, if you're looking for someone who might be able to, pop next year.
Man, I love that one. I think we talked about him like a week or two ago where we're like, where is this guy?
His Sandful form's been good. He's put a couple tons up.
And I feel like, I think we said that then as well. It's like he feels like a guy that would be better at a higher level just considering he's kind of likes the uncontested mix and uncontested contested, and you're going to get more of that uncontested when you've got good disposals delivering to you in AFL level. Just
I know he's 2G 4P, but another one that generally goes into the midfield mix is Carl Amon, who's we'll probably see a bit of a bump.
Well, he had a big score on the weekend
with Butters out,
kind of rosy too.
Yeah,
but Jackson Mead's another one to look at, especially in really deep leagues. He had 66 points and showed some good signs. He's been dominating in the Sandful, putting up a fair few tons. So he might be a bit more like for like playing that smaller forward kind of role that Butters can play and hitting in the middle. He's a really good pressure player too. Had a couple CBAs and I like him for the future. So he had a bit of a classic hype around him because he played the start of the year, but has gone back to the Stanfield, done some really good stuff. He's a mid forward. He's 19% owned, so worth looking at too.
Sorry if that wasn't clear. The Amon thing was for Butters because that probably opens up a spot on the wing for him.
Riley Bonner, I don't know if he's 2G for Pete yet, but he should be. He was great. 111 points from
Butters?
him.
I meant Dersmar. I said Butters, but anyway.
We all know what you're talking about. We're on the same wavelength. But Bonner was sensational. Probably the best game I've seen him play. Second ton of the year. He's 26, so he's in that weird kind of, is he going to take the next step? Is he not going to take the next step? Probably depends on, Port's game style and who they got there because they've got a lot of guys who can roll through that half-back flank, but it does look like they want the ball in Bonner's hands.
I think he takes that next step, to be honest. Like, I just don't see him being replaced by anyone.
No, definitely not, but does Burton or Houston or, Bergman or someone come in?
See, Houston pushes up to the wing quite a bit. Burton's a funny one. Like, he can go big, can go not. He can be, like, hugely involved, but I think Burton generally plays a little bit deeper, and Bonner's the one that kind of uses that dash a little bit more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I liked what I saw from Bonner. He was really impressive. As was Todd Marshall. 104 points from him now. I've been a massive, massive critic of him in the past, but happy to put my hand up here and say I reckon he's genuinely arrived. He looks every bit the player. 4 goals, 2 on the weekend, 14 touches and 8 marks. He's averaging 79.5 in his last 5 games. So he's putting up some fantastic scores and looks like a presence
on about
out there.
him on the waiver wire to have as just a streamer or a loophole option.
Hef, as a man that's not traditionally a fan of the key forwards, you've been all in on this one.
Well, just because he's been value. Like he's sitting on so many waiver wires and can go big.
He can. That ceiling is the big thing for sure.
He's just got confidence, which I don't think we've seen before. Like maybe the last couple of years he maybe hasn't felt like he's belonged, or Charlie Dixon was always in form, but like Dixon not being there for the first chunk of this year, I reckon Marshall's kind of gone, all right, it's my time.
I think it kind of feels like Port as well, like because Dixon's been there, it's just been bomb on head, and Marshall's not that type of player where our game plan has just been like put it in the side of the forward 50 however way you can, doesn't matter how it goes in there because Dixon will take care of it, bring it to the feet, go forward. We've kind of been exposed that doesn't work, especially when Dixon is either not there, out of form. So I think with Todd Marshall in there, it's kind of like we have to actually kick the ball a bit differently inside forward 50 and it kind of uses him a bit more.
He's also a very good set shot at goal.
Absolutely, yeah, that too. Which helps. Usually bangs through 6 points for you.
Sam Reid, he had 80 points and had to be the main ruck for a while after Pete Laddams got dragged, which is pretty funny. Look, obviously Buddy and Logan McDonald both in allows Reid to be a bit more flexible. So he had 11 touches, 7 marks, 5 tackles, 9 hit outs. So he can be a bit of that hybrid player. So he's had a couple of good games in a row now. So maybe worth looking at the waiver wire there. And lastly, Jake Lloyd had 48 points. His lowest score since scoring 48 points in round 15, 2019.
You're getting on
the slide is on.
There was a pretty funny tweet. Someone came back at you and said you're on Channel 7 areas on Friday night, Case.
That was not relating to...
I know, I'm just saying, but like this is another one of your just weird kind of areas that you're on because like every Sydney player was trash in this game and Lloyd's come off like a 90 and an 80.
Still, I'm just saying. Like I might be K's dossier or whatever it's called.
You're going to run through every Sydney player that was trash on the weekend?
I'm just saying, it's alarming. He's not getting the kick-outs.
Yeah, but like I said, he's still putting 90s and 80s up most weeks.
He's just not a primo anymore. He's just a run-of-the-mill.
I agree with that. Like
Riley Bonner's better than Jake
He's
Lloyd.
a 90. He's an 85 to 90 average player, but that's still 2G4P.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like, get off the train. That's all I'm warning people.
So many players.
People aren't listening to me.
I'm asking, why are you picking on Jake Lloyd for?
Because he's literally showing all the signs of
could you still sell him for a
sell.
Like could you still sell him for? Do you reckon you could still sell him for an Uber premium?
I don't think so.
You might be able to.
You could have, like 2 months ago when I told you to.
I don't reckon you could. But the thing is, when you told us to, he went back and scored back-to-back 100s. So
I knew what's going on. It's about finding the trends, bro.
The thing with Sydney is like when Sydney lose, which is like you kind of expect them to win a lot more this season. They've been kind of dropping a lot more games, and most Sydney players are generally way more trash when they lose because they can't junk it up like they do. Like they're really good at keeping the ball off the opposition when they've got the control of the footy. When they don't have control of the footy, they absolutely reek in terms of fantasy. Well, not absolutely, but
to find points.
In three games playing alongside Charlie Dixon, Todd Marshall was averaging 87 points compared to his 65 without him.
Takes a bit of heat off.
They got a lot of tools in there.
Cool.
Next game, West Coast versus Geelong. What a delight this was. No, actually, West Coast were played pretty well.
I didn't see it, but I was listening to the first half on the radio and they were going off about West Coast.
They just actually put up a fight.
Yeah.
Mighty Eagles, mate.
Jamie Cripps, he had 91 points. Your boy Hef looked back to his dangerous self.
Premiership player for my team.
Yeah, that's why he's your boy.
Thanks,
You've got a soft spot.
Exactly.
When I think Jamie Cripps, I think Hef.
Thanks. He hasn't been on my team for like 5 years.
Yeah, but I just think Jamie Cripps and Hef. That's just like best buds. But look, it was his best score of the year. Just one of these players as a small forward. This is the kind of thing he can do. And kicked a couple goals and just looked dangerous. Guy I really want to talk about though is Jake the Snake Waterman. He had 88 points, 2 fat ladies. A couple good games in a row now from him. 16 touches, 8 marks and 2 goals. I reckon, like he's had a couple of these games now this season, and I reckon this could almost be his stock standard. Like I think of the low to mid 20s range of players in the Eagles side, I reckon he's got the most upside, like ready to go for the rest of this season kind of thing. If they're getting some good players back in, Shuey, who's the other one?
Sheed.
So they've got some good ball users who can actually find Waterman out in the lead. So I reckon he is the one who could be the one to go. So just keen on him. I think he's definitely one that the Eagles look to use a bit more this year, especially with Kennedy getting on, etc. Tom Barrass had 86 points, with McGovern going down early, allowed him to kind of slot in and be the general in defence back there. Fun fact with Tom Barrass, he averages 87 when he takes 10 or more marks and averages 44 when he doesn't. So
There's a fun
10 or more marks. That's a lot of bloody marks, man. Like average.
When you go through his stats,
generally equates to 40 points. At least.
When you go through his stats, he needs marks to score. So that's what I'm saying.
10 or more
That's so funny
marks.
because he averages 44 when he doesn't.
Come on, man.
That's funny.
It's great. But he can take 6 marks and still not get 80 is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but like the numbers directly correlate to 10 marks.
They don't. It's not like he's either taking 10 marks
44
or he's
88.
not taking 10 marks. You guys have lost the plot.
Anyways, so
it's a great stat.
Pure maths. It's just that's all it is. Anyway,
No, it's not, because he's still marking it.
Anyway, go on.
You've got no idea about trends or the future.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
No, me and Dos Lightyear are fucking miles ahead of you. You're just thinking about, Jamie Cripps who won your flag 4 years ago when you might have had a good side.
Sorry.
You've got to look
guys.
forward in life, Hef.
Is that
Just,
right? Yeah.
put your
Is that why
body on the
You
line.
still don't understand that CBA trend for every player in the
Still not true, man.
Yeah,
It's just,
anyway.
it's just
Come on,
fake data. Fake data is what it is. I don't know where I'm up to. West Coast is shit. Brady Hoff. He had 60
we were all
points.
right in this game.
He had 60 points, did some nice things on the
Throw
wing.
him off, Dov.
Started well but faded. Look, he's 28% owned, so he's well worth a stash, I reckon. And he's playing over a couple of more established players. So we know Witherden was out on the weekend. He was playing Waffle. Rotham was out playing Waffle. Even Foley was in the Waffle. So, like, the fact that he's starting over some of those kind of guys who you could easily make a case for, I really like that. And, I think he looks like a natural wingman. He's got some good size about him too, so that's a positive. And a bit more of a, holistic point of view looking at the Eagles and probably talking about Witherden is that Elliot Yeo came back in and went to the halfback flank.
Yes.
So Yeo had 84 points in the weekend and slotted across the halfback flank very nicely, obviously. So the big question is, I suppose, will this be the return of the Yeo of old, as the good ball user off halfback? We know Hearn's probably in his last season, they've dumped Witherden. Is he going to be the next kind of guy? We thought maybe it could have been a Duggan. Foley's played back there at times, but it's like, is Yeo the man? The other one that went back there was Jermaine Jones, who had 76. So, a bit of speed and a bit of class off that halfback flank.
Yeah.
It could spell some massive danger signs for Witherden.
You kind of see a few of those players when they get into the latter stages of their career where they start as defenders, go in the midfield, and then go back to that. Like
I think
Dyson
Yeo's
Heppel
only like
type thing.
28, 26, 28.
That's old enough.
Yeah, so it's probably that prime time of
Yeah,
where
yeah.
he's still, alert.
Well, I just think there's a bit of a rocket, like the pressure stuff, whatever they want him to do, just send him back. But Hearn's going to still retire, and Witherden owners, what I'm saying
you're
is
going
don't
with him.
panic. Don't panic.
Witherden
he's
had
still
0 tackles.
doesn't matter.
It does
Hearn
matter.
had one in the AFL.
You can't if say he went back for pressure reasons.
Elliot Yeo
he
had
went back
0
and he didn't have a
tackles in the
tackle.
AFL.
But
That's
he's
Elliot
a good
Yeo.
player.
I'm a little bit concerned with Witherden just because, like, if they do play Yeo in that role, like, full time, it's like, I don't know, like, he's not adding much to the team, and a team that needs to, like, be kind of improving and developing. Like, he's not. Fantasy numbers, he's great, and I know, like, what you're saying is like
He's like Fiorini, but at West Coast.
kind of, yeah, that's pretty good.
Dude, we're entering
Fair
a
and
full
better.
rebuild. Like, there's no way he's not playing.
Well, he's not playing right now.
Yeah, he's not playing right
But then
now.
he's
But there's
keeping a
no way
player
he
like,
won't play.
someone like Luke Foley or something like that out of the
Foley's
side.
out.
It's like, no, but like, you could be playing like a kid like
So
that
West
over him
Coast,
as well.
West Coast had 8 guys in their 30s playing on the weekend. Like, that's not sustainable.
Why would you think? Okay, there's just one thing though. It's like, why would he be the guy getting the kick-ins, like in that team? Witherden. Why is he getting the kick-ins?
Because he's a good ball user.
Because he's a good ball user. So he's going
But
to, like,
football's
there's a
more than
way
just being a good ball
I know,
user.
but there's a way you can figure out the other stuff if he's that good a ball user.
The thing is, like, it's more so than that. Kick-ins is fine. It's it's like the defensive stuff that you got to worry
Yeah,
about.
I know,
So,
but
yeah.
I'm saying he's getting the kick-ins because he's a really good kick
Yeah.
and he's a great
But
user.
generally,
So
like, when
you're going to be able
rebooting
to figure out a
sides,
way.
if you look at,
in
like-
our list, you're going to
what's
figure out a
Witherden-
way to use a 23-year-old that
What's
has that
Witherden
kick.
listed as in fantasy?
Defender.
All right. And you got to defend. That's the whole point of being.
If you look
a
at
defender.
at the
Righto.
rebuilding sides over the last few years as well, like you remember with Melbourne, like when Roos came in, Port Adelaide when Hinkley came in, who was the other one? There was another one. North Melbourne under no, this is what he said. He's basically like we got to sort out our defence first. We've got to learn to defend before we can do anything first. And all those kind of rebuilding clubs really and Gold Coast as well, another one, put heaps of emphasis on like learning how to defend before learning how to kind of like attack and things like that. So to stop bleeding and stem bleeding and that sort of stuff as well. Like, if they do like a similar path, it could be bad for Yeo if defense is like they're going to be their focus in that
I'm
role.
not
Witherden
anti-
owners,
I'm not-
Witherden owners sell for the lowest possible because I'll be buying.
If you can get, but people aren't going to sell
That's
for
the
like
thing.
that. I think
Yeah.
that's the major thing.
I'd happily still
I'll
buy
be
him.
buying.
I'd happily give up like a nothing like pick for him. Type
I'm just
thing, but
saying,
no one's going
like,
to be doing that.
unless they find a person that's the next Hearn, like that's his role, being that distributor. So Hearn's not going to last forever.
It's going to be Foley.
The interesting, I didn't know, like not watching this game, and you've said that Yeo was playing halfback. I'd assume he might have got some midfield usage, but 0 CBA. So he was just entirely halfback. That is
Entirely
interesting.
halfback. Yeah, it's still very heavy on like Sheed and Shuey and what's his name?
Jeed, Shuey, Redden,
Long hair.
Connor West were the CBA guys. And Willie Rioli in there.
He went in pinch hit. Tom Atkins, speaking of guys in the CBAs, he had 93 points. So we've obviously known Tom Atkins as a defender for a long time.
Had a bump over the CBA bump over the last few
now it
months.
looks to be
What's
Tom
going on
Atkins, the
there?
midfielder. So he had 20
Fantasy points.
CBAs on the weekend.
Interesting.
And the 2 games prior, I look back, he had 73% CBAs in both of them. So
And you know what? Oh, I don't know if you've got this in the notes.
no Parfitt, no danger, no worries for the Cats.
No,
Tom
he's
Atkins
2G.
goes in. Is he?
He's technically 2G.
Anyway, well, it's just interesting to see the role change.
Yep.
So as if CBAs lead to better scoring.
Not necessarily, because he was actually scoring pretty well in the back line.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it's a role. We're talking role changes here.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a score under 70 since round 3, so actually it's probably going against your fact there about CBAs. He can get good ball in the back line too. I just don't think, whether he's a midfielder, defender, whatever, I don't think he's got a massive ceiling. I think he's got a decent enough floor, but not one I'd be super excited about if he did make that jump. I think he's a bit of a
He's literally a play until Danger's back and then it's drop.
Be interesting.
Like for real.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there, or whether he just goes back to the back pocket again or whatever. Sam Menegola returned. He had 88 points and picked up where he left off this season. Didn't look like he missed a beat at all. 20 touches, a couple snags, mainly out in the wing. Kind of know what to expect there. I think at 30 years of age, maybe you could sneak him into your side if you're chasing. Like if you just need someone who's probably going to give you an 80 each week as the M6, M7, he might be one worth looking at.
He was one, like, I only caught bits and pieces of this game. And so I was like, when I saw Menegola, I was like, he actually looks right here. I'm going to see if I can throw a trade out and see if I can get him on the cheap. But then I saw he scored 88, and then it's like, there's no way everyone's going to trade him now because it's like scored too well.
But like, if you know, it's always the situation in your league, but he's worth having a look at.
Yeah.
And longer term, I really like Cooper Stevens. He had 69 points on the weekend, 17 touches from only 61% time on ground, and a couple of CBAs in there too. Look, obviously he's been in and out of the side this season, but I reckon he's a massive stash because him and Holmes returned to the VFL on the weekend, had 86, I think, 20 touches and 10 tackles
injured,
or something.
Hey? Oh, our boy, he's
so
back.
he got injured, so he's back. I forgot to bring him up on the waiver wire, but I think Stevens and Holmes are the 2 guys that the Cats are happily going to give some time to of that younger brigade. We'll see.
Cool. All right, I'll get on to the next game, which was the cracker. GWS versus the Western Bulldogs, the goal fest, highest scoring game of the year was this one. And yeah, it's really enjoying watching these 2 teams, their history sort of be built here, just with that rivalry. And
yeah, that's right, that faux rivalry from one game. I remember that.
One game. Heaps of different games. Where they
it's built from that prelim though.
But they didn't have much animosity in this one. It was just goal, goal, goal.
Yeah.
I love the uniform clash too. The not the clash, but like orange and blue. They're just really good colour schemes.
I do like that. I do like Bulldogs versus Sydney as well, red versus blue. I think that's always a good one.
Just this one's better.
Okay, cool.
This one's better.
Fair enough.
There was actually a lot of news headlines though in this game. So Flynn was laid out. What do you guys know the injury or whatever happened there? I don't actually know.
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you can Google that one for me.
Sure.
But Bruce. So after this happened, Bruce was injured in the second quarter as well. So he did something. I actually didn't see what ended up happening with that, but it looked like an ankle or something. He came off and his ankle looked pretty bad. Tried to get back out there. Then he ended up being subbed off. So Bruce, I mean, what a ride this year. And now he's been suspended for a game as well.
Flynn out with a quad injury.
So look, I don't know who's going to be their ruck, but I'll tell you who stepped in.
Briggs.
Oh, Briggsy.
I know. Was he going like in the VFL?
I don't actually know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
I've not seen his name
Briggsy
mentioned in ages, but
yeah. I'll get on to who took his place in a moment, but there was other news headlines in this game. So Duray was injured and subbed off, and that's a role that's going to have to be filled because he had what's up?
No, so I was just looking at the VFL stats because you're like, oh, how'd Briggsy go? Briggsy didn't play, so I don't know what happened. These are the hit-out numbers for the GWS Gold Coast game. Ned Moyle, 39. Matt Conroy, also Gold Coast, 17. Wade Dirksen and Carl Vierhuis both had 4. That was all of GWS's hit-outs.
Dirksen.
they're not even AFL listed, are they?
Wade Dirksen.
Dirksen got drafted in the mid-season draft.
Oh, nice.
But so he might be one. He had 91 points, kicked 3 goals.
Oh,
but that is a shellacking.
Durka.
Wade Dirksen. That's so good. Anyway, sorry, throwing off a bit there. So Jure got injured as well. He's going to have to be a role that's filled at Western Bulldogs. That looked pretty bad for him, unfortunately. And Waitman was the other strange one. Did you guys see this injury?
Elbow, and then he shouldn't have ever played again. And then he came back on like 5 minutes later.
So for the full story, he'd kicked 5 goals by half time. Waitman.
It's nuts.
Comes on in the third quarter, dislocates his elbow 5 minutes in, and it was a grotesque injury. Obviously, his elbow's completely out. Pops it back in, straps it up, comes back out.
He's a nut.
Yeah, very strange scenes out there. But they were saying, I think I heard today, so they're already saying about, so like, I'll just give him a tip of the cap now. He scored 80 points. I mean, that's a great score, but you had to kick 5 goals to get there. I think we've mentioned it before. He's kind of your streamer if you can, but probably not going to get too much. But they've already mentioned he's going to be limited with the stuff that he can do, like tackling and stuff like that this year, just because it's a nasty injury and it probably requires surgery, I think. But he's going to wait until the off season because it might be like, 6 weeks off the sidelines or whatever. So that's what I think they were mentioning today. So anyway, if you're a Waitman owner, it might be something to flag. So, some more news on this one. There's just so many role changes and stuff at the moment. GWS, exciting stuff. Himmelberg, 99 points. He's now too good for the podcast. He retained that defensive role. We kind of wondered. He got named, I think, in the forward line.
Yeah, and they was out in the goal kicking in the start.
Goal kicking at the start. Look, it's interesting because I think he did shift there later in the game. They kind of swung him there. So, I think it's going to be a bit matchup dependent where they play him, but for the moment, he's going to be playing in defence and he was racking up back there yet again. But interesting to see what that happens. I think it is going to be a swingman role, but gee, what a role change. And if you jumped on him, congratulations. He's now too good for the podcast. 2G for P. Lockie Keefe was the man.
In the ruck, yeah, didn't notice
took the ruck. And He's got an interesting waddle around the ground, that's for sure, old Keefy. I sent you guys some
very funny video this morning.
Footage of the waddle. Look, he did all right though. Unfortunately, I had Tim English captain in Classic, had the absolute blessing of the Flynn laid out and then the Bruce injury, and I was like, gee, this is a shoe-in for a monster score. 24 hit-outs for Keefe, and I reckon he just about tagged English out of it a bit. Had 13 touches himself, 4 tackles.
So you reckon he could be the number one going forward, or do you reckon our mate?
Well, look, look, Dirksman could be a chance here, boys. But no, Lockie Keefe. Honestly, if he's named pure ruck, he's a streaming option. Like, what's he, defender? He's a streaming option in your defence. You got to play him if he's got this role. I don't think he will, but we'll wait and see. Because he was serviceable, 80 points. Look, you're going to take that in your back line every day of the week. So he's going to be a guy. Look, he probably won't even be worth a waiver. I was going to say,
if you don't play waivers, he's not going to be on any list. So,
so just free agency, pull him if nobody's noticed that score. And obviously wait for teams because you're not going to want to play him if there's another ruck.
I probably should have been on the waiver wire podcast.
He's a defender.
Yeah. Lockie Ash playing on a wing in this game, and also 4 centre bounce attendances. So getting involved in that link play around the ground, 19 disposals, 5 marks, 4 tackles. Nice little even spread of those numbers. But I think Jacob Ware moved back into defence. He was playing on wing last week, so Ash kind of changed roles there for him. But yeah, wary of that defender status next year. K's, we might lose it for Ash. If he retains this role,
I think we will, and it's going to put him in a bit of a weird spot in terms of, do you keep him or not?
Yeah, especially in those mid-range keepers. Yeah.
I think he will because he's still super young, lots of potential, but yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
And I've got Jake Riccardi, who I mentioned on the Waiver podcast, 77 points. We just also mentioned on that pod, he's just getting thick. Like, he's bulking up. He's looking like a real key forward now.
A few protein shakes.
And the move of Himmelberg to defence, I think, kind of underrated, helping him out too. He's moving up into that centre-half forward role, getting up the ground, taking some big clunks. He had 12 touches, 7 marks in this one. And he just carves up. Every time he gets dropped in the VFL, dominates.
Massive numbers.
Smashes
like
the
150s,
VFL. And he's just a hard worker. Like, he works all day. I would hate to play on him if you're a defender in the AFL. Like, runs constantly. He's just one of these guys I think is still got untapped potential. And, I think he's going to be a key forward that we can field for us for a fairly long time here. But he's just scratching the surface.
I own him. But I'm actually looking forward to, like, the last 10 rounds of the season, because I've got a few of these guys that have just kind of, throughout the bye rounds, they've kind of come on a lot more, and I'm just hoping he's one of them that I can kind of chuck on the bench, stream him on when I need to, and put up a few good scores for me.
Sweet. I had Tanner Bruin, bit of a crash back to earth after his awesome game last week. A few less CBAs this week, but still in the mix. 49 points for your boy Kays. And look, I think I mentioned it last week, like, I just like this guy long term. I think next year's his breakout, or even next year's probably the year. So just hold faith. He's a stash. He's not going to be a guy that you can play every week.
Anything you got from him this year, is a bonus.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with that GWS midfield over the trade period as well, because the rumours are a bit of a cap squeeze and stuff like that. So if they clear one or two out, like Tom Green, I think, is rumoured to go elsewhere. If they clear one or two out, he might be the next one in.
Interesting. Josh Aki for the Dogs, playing a forward ruck role, coming into that side, 69 points. Look, obviously we can't talk about a stack of Dogs because there's not many to talk about that aren't too good, but Shaki played really well, like 69 points, probably underrates his. Look, he only had 10 touches, but they were all clean. I think like he had some really nice disposals, so they even mentioned him on the broadcast, kind of like, how's this guy not playing more? But look, I understand why. He's hit or miss sometimes, but played all right in this game, and playing that chop out for Tim English, like I think there's a role for him in the side. The only thing is there's a guy playing VFL that I'll mention in a moment where he fits in.
He's played so many roles though, like defender, hole filler.
And Riley West, tip of the cap, 74 points. I do love the way he plays. I just don't think he'll be relevant.
You've been talking about Riley West for a long time.
I have. It's good to see him get a nice little score. Took a few nice clunks early as well.
They were both over Himmelberg. I was actually thinking like, well, is Himmelberg in trouble here in his defensive role? If he can't actually stop this bloke from marking.
But yeah, look, he's a guy that if he was a guy that was to somehow change clubs, even though I know he's got the bloodlines at the Dogs. He'd be a guy that I'd be interested in because he's a midfielder playing forward. Like he's not playing in his natural position, but he fits a role for the Dogs playing in pressure. So yeah, just a nice score. But yeah, notes for the VFL. Josh Bruce played, so that's actually interesting for the Dogs forward line setup.
Big time.
Maybe just a bump for a guy like Norton who can probably get even more freedom down there. Yeah. Like we just seen from Todd Marshall getting that huge bump with Dixon back. Look for maybe a buy of Norton and see if that can, I don't know, that could really explode for the back half of the year. And Lockie Hunter played VFL as well, coming back from his absence. So that's good signs. And with Jure going down, they could shuffle maybe, unfortunately, my boy Bailey Williams. Does he go back into defence to cover that hole? And does Lockie Hunter come in to play the wing? Who knows? But that's an interesting one. And then we're also going to see just so much for these two teams fantasy-wise. Tim Taranto played VFL as well. So next week, we probably finally get to see the real centre bounce mix for GWS because he's a huge star that's missing at the moment.
Well, didn't one of your boys go down? What was his name? The forward? Scored just 6.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mention that.
Yeah. But that could...
Taranto technically Kay's boy, but I have him in Fantasy Classic, which is brutal. James Peatling.
That's right, Peatling, yeah.
Scored 6, but mind you, he'd already played half a game for that, so I can't say that was early. Yeah. He played the first half, and then it was a hamstring awareness type thing.
Just thinking what happens there, because like there's been talk for ages that Taranto will go back and play a bit more forward in that kind of role in forward midfield. Yeah, so might actually fill that hole there. I don't know.
I'm keen to find out. Green did have 150 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
and the thing is, it's like we won't even find out for so much longer because Hopper's still out and now Perryman's still out. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. Wait and see.
All right, we'll move on to the last game, Gold Coast versus Adelaide. Dossie, you're wearing your Gold Coast Guernsey. You just jumping on board for the finals, or
mighty Suns, mate.
You think they're going to make it?
No.
Nah. Well, I hope they don't because they've got a man stewing away in the VFL. Stewing away in the VFL. Pick again.
Elijah Hollands.
Pick again.
Rory Atkins.
No.
He did top score today.
Rory Atkins did top score, surprisingly.
I'm out of ideas.
There's 2 boys of mine,
Charlie
actually.
Constable.
Charlie Constable, I'll take, yeah.
Chrissy Burgess.
Yeah, I do like
Hawago, Paul.
Braden Fiorini. Okay. Third 2 disposals again. Look, I mean, every Gold Coast win, a little part of me just gets a little bit sad just because I want to see failure so we can get some VFL rise. But they keep on winning. Stewie Jew's got the game plan sorted. Look, Fiorini and Constable have just arrived. Well, Constable's just arrived. Fiorini's been there forever. It's time to leave. It's time to find greener pastures. Come to West Coast Eagles next year. Please.
All right, hopefully they can make that happen for you, Dossie. But let's get on the players that did play, actually, AFL, and win away for our keep leagues. So I think Matt Rao, someone we B2P'd a while back, had 106.
Rightfully so.
Back-to-back big scores in the last 2 weeks. Do we 2G, 4P him again? Get him back up there?
Because he's got that pedigree, you have to.
Yeah, I don't think anyone... Yeah, people are pretty happy about him.
People would have just traded for him, if anything, but always owned him.
Oh, I didn't think someone traded him out just before he put up these back-to-back good scores.
That's what I do.
In this room.
Oh, no.
I got Zach Bailey, which is completely fine.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Had 30s and 60s from him or something like that.
And so did Rat. They both were going 40 and 40 when
Was
the
it,
trade
like,
happened.
did you at least get something else back for it? Or was it straight swap?
Zach Bailey.
Straight
He's a
swap.
gun.
Straight swap.
Yeah. I need that forward status, bro.
Okay.
This is our case trades. Nah, it was fine at the time. It's just one of those hindsight
alright.
ones.
We traded, and then
At
it
least
was
it's
like
a
one
trade.
scored 44 and one scored 45, and then one scored 60 and one scored 61.
one of
and
those
then
hindsight
Rao's
trades that
gone
you
big
wish you kind of
in the
didn't
last
do.
two.
Isaac Rankin, he had 85 points, setting up plays a little more instead of finishing them. There's a commentator raving about that as well all day. Still kicked 3 goals though, which is pretty funny. But anyway, this is Crows, so probably just more of a
Nah,
tick
he
out than
dominated,
anything. Do
man.
you
And
reckon?
he's in some form. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
well, I haven't
real.
actually looked at his recent scoring. What's he been doing?
Well, I don't know if necessarily his scoring's been up and down, but his his influence has been lifted to another degree.
Yeah, that's what I was
6
saying on the
weeks.
broadcast that he'd been doing
Look,
this. But yeah.
last month, 80, 65, 74, 85.
Okay, that is an uptick for him.
Yeah.
So he's definitely one to start considering if he can kind of start
Starting to
pulling
just
these a
get
bit
more of the pill as well as kick those goals.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Ben Ainsworth, he had 82. Again, this, like I said before, is kind of the Crows factor, but he was involved in a lot of the attacking play, and like he got a lot of his footy anyway, like working up the ground. He kind of got his, took marks on kicks running back towards the goal, so you can kind of tell he was like pushing up the ground and kind of working back forward and getting a few kicks that way. Up and down player, but I reckon he's handy to own. He's a great F4 to own because that's what I own him basically as, except for me, he's probably like an F2 because my forward line is rubbish. But only one he scored, he's only had one score under 70 since round 5, so super consistent in that range so far this season. David Swallow was in the guts again, defender in AFL fantasy, so he's averaging over 80 from his last 4, I think it was. So yeah, he's another one to consider if you've especially played the AFL fantasy format where he's got defender status. It's a pretty handy own. Now, Connor Butterick was killing it, 66 and a half, kind of looked like the Weller kind of taking over those kind of kicks and all that sort of stuff. Then did a hammy. So that was pretty
Bad hammy or a good hammy?
I don't know. But
Was it aware or was it like snappy?
It was more like
Ice on the string,
yeah,
not like
he went to the rooms, but it wasn't like injury. Like it wasn't like an Acres one from the week before where it could have been anything. Like it was more so like looked frustrated, went to the rooms, came back, applied ice. So I don't think it's going to be a long one, but it might be the 21-day kind of standard one type thing. But then Jack Bowes came on, which was super interesting.
Yeah.
And actually had 24 points in the third quarter.
Couldn't find my badge. I was
took
gonna wear it.
kick-ins and
looked
stuff
good
like
in that
that.
third.
But only had 5 in the last. But, getting back into it, Jack Bowes could be getting a bit of more of a run over the next few weeks and could see a bit of a bump. Because I know Will Power hasn't been playing in defence the last couple of weeks, but he had a horrible, horrible injury that I don't even want to bring up because, it was a shocker. Hopefully he's all right and can, just recover well from the back of that one. But
I hope that green whistle kicked in nice and fast.
absolutely. But yeah, Sharp might get more of a run in the next few weeks.
Please,
and
God.
Yeah, absolutely. No one else is definitely in the mould to take over that role. Does he?
I'd honestly be happy to just see Constable. Like, at least give him a go.
I don't think he's going to come in for that
I
role.
could
though.
run James Cheetahs in there instead of that other guy.
I don't even know who that is.
They'll just probably bring
Alex Sexton.
Atkins or some shit.
And just one other one for the Gold Coast. Sam Flanders played his first full game of this year. He played one early. I think he was the sub. But he had 57 points. And he only had 57 points, but he averages 107 in the VFL because he's playing more midfield in the VFL. So he's one to just maybe stash if he can get a bit of a run at the top level to kind of build a bit of confidence. Maybe one coming into the next year. If he can kind of become more of a mid-forward type, he might be okay. But yeah, just a stash. One to keep your eye on for the future. Onto the Crows. Paddy Parnell thought he was going to ton up 59 at half time. Only had 17 in the second half to bring him to a 75. That doesn't add up, so that doesn't thank you AFL app for giving me three different numbers. But anyway, he copped a knock to the head and then kind of went missing. But prior to that, he was just
looked bad. Too.
Yeah, I thought I don't know. He looked okay when he came off the bench, but on the field it looked bad. But he was just popping into all these holes and getting a lot of +6s, a lot of cheap pill that way. But he's also got a bit of dash, but a really nice peg as well. Unlucky in both games to cop knocks and kind of bring him out of the game. Even though he wasn't subbed out in this one, you could kind of tell it affected him. We were talking on the Wave Wire podcast. Yeah, the thing is like, He's a different type of player, I think, to Luke Brown. But Luke Brown played his first sample game in like X number of years because he's generally like part and parcel of the Crows backline. Does Luke Brown come back in, and does it necessarily mean the end for Parnell's spot on the side, or do they bring someone else out? Do they reshuffle? How does it work with this going on?
No, I think he stays. I think I mentioned to you off air, but like I think there's no way after this how he's using the ball.
Yeah.
It's so different and a line break. He's a line breaker. Like
Yeah,
obviously you've got a guy like Jordan Dawson and Brodie Smith, but honestly, it could even mean that you can release Jordan Dawson a bit more up the ground on occasion, or Brodie Smith up the ground, and use his dash off the back line.
By the end, I think Dawson does this every week, but he has a few wings and stuff.
And that's right. And that's where you can just rotate him back there, and you've still got that extra user. But the person that I look at that he's replacing isn't like a Luke Brown. I think Luke Brown just comes back in whenever they're ready.
Yeah.
He's replacing Chase Jones.
I'm also asking about the shuffle. Like, how does the shuffle work to get them all in? You know what I mean? That's all. And who goes where?
I just think he's got a lot of job security right now, especially with what we've seen them playing the youth this year. But he's an awesome ad.
Yeah.
Like, he's fun to watch. And Kays, for games where Parnell gets 10 marks, he averages 75.
Good.
Yeah.
Has he had 10 marks yet?
Yeah, in this one.
Well, that's a good average.
Good maths.
What is the average when he doesn't have 10 marks?
Less than that.
Anyway, James Rowe is another one. 91 points. Starting up forward, but pushing high up the ground. So early on, he was just getting involved in a bit of that halfback kind of chip around, then the next chip up to the wing. He was kind of that next one to go to as well. Bit of thirst, like standing in holes, waving his arms, especially like across like halfback. James Rowe just, getting angry at people not kicking to him.
Nah, don't attach that one.
So, yeah.
No, not going to allow that.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, but the Moose is a great exponent of thirst.
Anyway.
Where is the Moose?
Kicked a
languishing in the sandful.
Kicked a late goal, Rowe did, but I think it might be flash and pan in the score, so I'm not getting too excited about this one. But he has put up a few handy scores. Probably worth owning just as a bit of a loophole bench option type thing. Jake Saligo, 78 points. He was on that wing, so playing that role, he's getting a lot of loose pill, which is, you're on the outside, that's what happens. But I think playing in a bad side, he's going to get a lot of opportunity to find some footy this season, and I think he's going to be, just hold him in good stead for the future. Good junior fantasy scorer, wasn't he, Kays?
Saligo, yes, very good.
Yeah, cool.
I'm excited. I reckon of all the Crows guys, he's the one I'd like to own.
And the last one I'm going to talk about is Jackson Haitley. So he had 84 points, but 0 CBAs this week. The positive thing, I guess, he had 32 points at halftime, and I was like, this is not looking good for Haitley. Had a 52-point second half, so he's shown he can still score. And like he'll be fine on the wing, but I just don't know if he'll get those 100-plus kind of scores that we saw early in the season when he was getting those CBAs. Last 2 weeks, he's kind of had patches where he's just stopped dead. In terms of his fantasy scoring. So a little bit concerning, but I still think he'll be an 80-plus type. And I think he's a defender this year in Ultimate Footy. Is that right? Or is he mid-only?
Did he get added?
Wouldn't have been added this year, but I'm not sure. Haitley, was it from the last team? Oh, he's mid-only. You're up. Damn. Okay, so maybe not as useful, but still, you're taking 80 from a player like him each week. So, yeah. Hopefully, he can just get a few more CBAs, though, and start bumping that score back up.
I need to get rid of Matt Crouch.
Yeah, I just don't know if they will. That's the thing. Anyways, that's the end of the round rewind. If you enjoyed that and want to support the show, please sign up as a member and keep this thing ticking along. If you do sign up as a member, we'll reward you with all of our bonus resources, weekly CBAs, kick-ins, scores for and against, projections, breakout tracker, and much, much more. If you want to join up, there's a link in the description below. And thank you to the following gold members. I can tell I'm the only one who has it up on my screen at the moment.
I'm just getting a segment ready.
Thank you. Dino.
Yeah. Dino plays Keno, I'm pretty sure.
Dino. Kieran Sankey. Brendan Trump. Big Trumpy.
Donald's brother.
Chris Allen. Hammer Smith. Hammer. Paul Knorr. Benjamin Downey. Oliver Mackey. Lewis O'Day, and Vincent McMillan.
Not Vincent McMahon from WWE.
Thank you very much. Now over to our best segment of the night. We've got Trudge Watch.
Trudge Watch.
The Trudge.
Yes.
Guess what, Dossie?
He had a lot of tackles this week.
He had a lot of tackles.
A lot of hugs.
He raised the bat. 106 points for the Trudge.
Oh, yes.
19 touches. 11 tackles.
Gotta love those hugs.
Oh, what an absolute gem.
Sharing the love.
All right. As much as I'd love to talk about Trudge for the rest of the night, let's get on to listener questions. Boo.
Trudge of
the jungle.
I hope he gets drafted next year.
Oh, he will. He's a shoo-in.
Just purely for content purposes.
Yes.
All right. Questions. First question of the week comes from Kang Daddy. Last week, you briefly mentioned you like the waiver-free leagues when you're stuck with the team you draft. Keeper League Gold Members Dynasty is the first league he's done that has this, and he loves it. Can you elaborate and go through some of the pros and cons in your eyes of this style of league? Well, it's kind of obvious, I guess. The pros are that like you keep players in the pool for next year. So, like, you can actually have a clear number one draft pick. Like, Nick Martin's in our pool, like, and he's going to be the clear number one draft pick next year. Yeah, Himmelberg's up there too, if he keeps that role. So, there's a few. I guess the cons are if you have a few injuries and stuff like that, it's a bit harder to replace them. But generally, you got trades on and stuff like that. So, if you really need to, you try to trade.
I like it because it puts a lot more onus on the draft. Like, you've got to draft right, and you got to draft for positions. You've got to take
no second chances.
You got to take 3 or 4 rights to make sure you don't loot, have a zero kind of thing.
What I will say is in that sort of a league, and obviously for the Keeper League Gold member league, this is going to be the case. It needs to be, it needs to be an active coach. The coaches need to be super active and want to do those trades and stuff, because otherwise you draft and you just set your lineups every week. Like
what does.
Well, yeah. I mean, I find that
like
the fun for me, half the fun and why we do the waiver podcast and stuff is for me is like you've got your waiver pickups or your free agency pickups, whatever.
I think it's because you guys have like ADD where you just have to have something new going.
I need a tinker.
Yeah,
I need a tinker.
I love picking a player and go, this guy's going to be good. I just need 3 years, and holding on. That's what I need.
I feel really good at growing grass or something.
I am good at growing grass.
Yeah.
Just plant the seeds.
I'm really good at gardening.
Water it each day, and
honestly,
Exactly.
I feel like one of these leagues for me would be dangerous to like. I just get antsy and want to do trades that I probably don't need to do.
Yeah, that's what happens to Case.
So, that's great.
He loses all of them. But it depends like what you want though. So like in an AFL list, like I don't know, like when you're watching, I know it's very different, it's fantasy, but it's like, do you wish you could trade out half the team mid-season? I guess you probably wish you could.
Bombers, Essendon, Crows, West Coast probably all wish they could. Yeah.
I like playing it like an AFL.
I guess it is more real. Yeah,
that's why I like
real
about
list
it.
management.
Yeah. It's like when you play like a NBA game or a FIFA game and you kind of only have your certain trade period and you build a list. That's I see it more of that kind of thing. But it depends what you're into, like what you want to. Just make sure your whole league's on board. That's all. Willie 1998, Dossie, your thoughts on Himmelberg? Looked elite down back again. Yeah.
Yep, sure did.
Keep going. That's yes.
But I think the interesting thing will be, because I said he did swing forward late. It's like, how much do they want to bring that in, and when do they do it, and does it become more of his diet going forward? Does he kind of become that?
Rather wave while it's there though.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
At TTQ03, Ridley ever get back to his 2020-2021 games? 1-4 form.
No, it's a Redmond season from now on. Mason Redmond is the GOAT at Essendon.
You're the Bombers man. What do you think?
Be interesting to see what happens if we can maybe bring in a proper, good defender. We've got like James Stewart and Jaden Laverde and all that kind of playing
Kelly
key roles.
Kelly.
Yeah, but like I'm the taller kind of guy, and I just wonder if does really have to do too much defending.
Yeah,
and he can't actually be
the intercepting.
That's what I thought Kelly would do. Like, would free him up more. But then
he always plays on a few smaller guys. Like I think Laverde and that Zach Reed's played a bit. Like if we could get, I don't even know who you'd bring.
Zach Reed probably would be the guy. Right?
So it's just like you just need, if he can develop or something. I think that might kind of free up Ridley to play a bit more free.
At Munro, Xavier asks, can Elliot Yeo and Callan Ward still qualify for defender status?
I didn't mention it for Callan Ward, but he was top of the CBAs.
Yeah.
So, I just think, unfortunately, like we said, Taranto's coming back. When does Hopper come back later? He will eventually get it, but it might be next year.
The thing is, like,
He's
AFL
gonna
Fantasy,
get it, though,
maybe next
point.
year.
Yeah.
AFL Fantasy is like, you need the team to do it for majority of
he
6
won't
weeks,
get it
so it's not happening.
He's not going to get it this year.
And Ultimate Footy's last one is round 15, so you got next week. It's going to be too quick to actually happen.
I think so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's too up and down.
Yep. At Isaac _WF.
And Yo, though.
Oh, sorry. That's not going to happen either, though. Next year's season, maybe.
Isn't it, though? How many rounds? Oh, so we've only got one more round before, basically. Yeah.
Well, you got to round 16. You got 2 more rounds.
No, it's 15.
Well, no, that's 16 in AFL Fantasy, or is it 15?
Oh, Ultimate Footy, it's 15.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So AFL Fantasy,
I think
maybe.
you might have 2 weeks. But I still think you need majority of the 6-week period of it happening. If it only happens for 2 weeks, it's probably not going to be enough.
Give your mate Warney a message, a DM.
Like I said,
Clarify.
I just don't. I think it's probably qualifies, but it's like you need to do it for 6 weeks straight. It's
Give him a
too
DM.
late. Anyway, I've seen lesser things like more shoo-ins not go through this year. All right. Isaac underscore WF is asking, how do you think the stash of Braden Campbell is going to be? He's got him in a dynasty. He's worried about his total lack of game time. Does he hold the faith? I know you're a big fan.
I'm a huge fan, but yeah, it's been the sophomore slump.
If it's a genuine dynasty.
If you've got heaps of space,
Yeah.
yeah, do it. But yeah, if you've only 16 like ours, no way. So,
Agreed.
Yeah. At Geostorming, has Sam Berry gone past Schoenberg now? What does he do with Schoenberg? Yes, Sam Berry has gone past Schoenberg.
Debatable.
And what do you do with Schoenberg?
I actually think
You
they're
drop
different.
him.
They're different players.
They are, obviously.
Look, Schoenberg and Moose are just having too much chemistry in the VFL right now. They're just enjoying the time down there.
Yeah, too much fun.
I'm in the
but, nah,
sample.
I'm not going
I
into that
wouldn't
one.
actually make any rash decisions with Crows players until the end of the year, because I actually think they're going to try a few things. They got to.
Yeah, I think they might.
Schoenberg's was emergency last week, played
Sub
all
a
right
lot.
on the weekend. So he's around the market. I just think they'll try a few things.
At AntG25, Nick Martin, long-term forward keeper or sell high option, just inside the top 4 currently in my keeper. Is he going to be a midfielder going forward?
God, no way I'm selling this guy.
Is he going to be a midfielder going forward?
No way I'm selling Nick Martin. Like, no
Long-term
chance.
Brownlow medalist.
Yeah. Like, no, this guy honestly looks to me like a star. Like,
But I'm asking, is he going to be a midfielder going forward, do you think?
I think he's going to be
He's not going to
midfielder.
be a
Yeah.
forward, but
So, yeah.
he's going to be a very, very,
But
very
he
So-
might be that. He
midfielder.
might be that long-term mid forward. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
If you're in desperate need
I
of a
gave
forward
him-
going forward,
yeah.
maybe that's the only time. But he's a gun. So
you know the comparison I gave him, and I think it's a nice comparison. So obviously we've got the Pendles comp that's going around. I think it's a hybrid Pendles Mitch Duncan. That's my Nick Martin comp.
okay, so don't trade him.
Don't
no
trade him.
way.
He's a
at all.
stud. No.
Cool. Fred and Terry won. Where is Kieran Briggs? So we didn't talk about this on the.
Not sure.
We don't know. I
He's
think
not injured.
He has played 8 games and he played in round 12, and he played 8 games. He has played 8 games of VFL this year, and he's averaging 73.1.
Maybe just a cheeky
Yeah,
cold or
might be. Who knows? But he might be in line to come on if all the rucks are injured, or if our mate Durka might come on as well.
Wade Dirksman has it.
Kick 3 snags too. He's a day.
Durka. All right, and last question comes from at HK Dos. Is it an awesome draft fantasy to buy injured players and be
Draft
patient?
strategy.
Sorry, what did I say?
Fantasy.
Oh, sorry,
Come on,
strategy.
mate.
To buy injured players and be patient when they're young enough and shown enough pedigree, fantasy pedigree. I can't read tonight. Case study: Jade Gresham, Doherty, Charlie Curnow this year. Jeez, something just banged on the door. I don't know. Is there enough fantasy pedigree? Oh, sorry, I missed the whole question. What was it again?
Look, I'll bloody read it, mate. Fuck.
Sorry, someone knocked on the door.
Just explain your tweet.
Did you want to check that, mate? Or
Oh, I guess so. So I'm gonna have to edit it in later. But anyway,
I'll run the show, mate. Don't
that's
worry.
right. You go.
Case.
Yes.
Do you think it's not a good idea? And maybe we'll have to think of some options in the coming weeks, but look at these guys that you could have bought for nothing over the last few years. Medical science is just going to another level. Jay Gresham coming back from an Achilles, just dominating. Sam Doherty coming back from bloody 15 different things, including bloody cancer, and doing this well. Charlie Curnow, how good he's come back from these injuries. These guys have just been amazing to pick up. And do you think it's a nice strategy to buy if you've got a lot of patience to buy these guys? You could have got all these guys dirt cheap, and there's probably more on the list.
So I'm not sure about
Braden
Gresham,
Bruce
but
to a worse degree. But
I'm not sure about Gresham, but I know in a startup keeper league this year, Doherty went round 15 or something like that, because people were just which is rightfully so, the guy just fucking beaten ball cancer or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So you're always going to be hesitant, but he's come back and he's probably the best defender this year. Charlie Curnow, same thing. He was unwanted. I think I got him off a rookie list in waiver list in one of my leagues. Potentially,
even in even in just drafts, people that have shown something, I think I'm going to be much more likely now to jump in and draft them. Just don't care about the history, because I don't know. It's just what we've seen these last couple of years is guys
depends
can
what
just
you want to
bounce
spend
back.
on them though, because I think some injuries people just don't come back from. You know, like
I would have said that about Achilles for Gresham, and he's freaking insane.
He's a
this
lot
year.
younger though. Like you can give him more time to come back. It depends on like the age profile and all that sort of stuff as well. I think Gresham was fine. Doherty was funny this year because if you actually follow the media, like you knew he was back training like 4 weeks before the season started. So it was like a lot easier kind of thing. But a lot of people missed that or just weren't paying attention and that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, I don't know. It depends on the player. I think when they're younger, you can probably make a case for it. When they're a bit older, I'm a bit more wary.
Might have a think about some players and come back to who we think could be those.
do some investigation.
Yeah,
All right.
CSI Dos Ami.
Okay, good. Another nickname. Just what we need. Anyway, that's a wrap this week. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Get around us on all those platforms at Keeper League Pod. Get around our Manscaped discount code, 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using Keeper20. Get your hands on the Boxer Briefs 2.0. Dossie, buy yourself a pair.
Size
'cause
up.
You missed yours.
I'll head down to the post office to see if they're still there.
And sign up as a member. Link in the description below. Support the podcast. Keep it going each week. All right. Thanks, boys, for being in the room this evening, chatting some fantasy. And thank you, listeners, for listening. See you later.
Adios.
Lauren or Dos. That's pretty good.
I actually like all of them, Dos. I'm just kind of playing it up for the pod. Anyway.